So today is day 9. Today was much easier to do the cleanse, the parasite detox portion, the tea. It was bitter, per usual, but I definitely feel a little bit lighter. I also had an interesting experience because I was out and about, and during the fasting, I generally try to stay away from people, but nothing personal. It's just good to do that. Go within, and I was around folks that are from my own culture, which happens to be Cape Verdean. And I love my culture. I want to just say that. I love it a lot. Tenho orgulho de ser cabo-verdiana. I'm very proud to be Cape Verdean. And, but I believe that there are those of us who not only love our culture, but we also critique our culture to make it better. And what I realize is that, in order to be somewhat of a visionary, you do have to set yourself away from your culture, how at the same time knowing your culture. In other words, you accept the best parts of it, however, you seek to change what isn't right, what isn't just. And many of us, in general, all cultures, I have friends from all over the world, whether they come from an African background, an Asian background, a European background, a Latino background. It's basically always a scapegoat to fall back on culture. And so, we know that there are things like vaginal mutilation in some cultures, and that's culture, or child brides, that's culture. And, we have to kind of go beyond that if we want to see ourselves as well as our people grow. And it's difficult when you have that vision. I mean, today just so happens to be Martin Luther King Day, and it's also Amilcar Cabral's assassination day. For those of you who don't know who Cabral is, Amilcar Cabral is the man who liberated Cape Verde, Mozambique, Guinea-Bissau, and Angola from Portuguese colonial oppression. He was our civil rights leader, if you will. He was assassinated also today, January 20th. And, in honor of them, I feel like we need to do better. We need to seek higher. We need to always try to be a better version of our culture, of the cultural imprints. I think that one of the first things we could start with is ourselves, as well as our children, and basically the younger generation, because they do have to keep the culture up and do have to understand code, like our languages, our traditions. I do believe in that to the extent that it doesn't suppress or repress or oppress individuals. Cape Verde is a very complex country. We're made up of 10 islands. It's called an archipelago nation. And within those islands, we have the Windward Islands, the Leeward Islands, which is Barlavent, Sotavent, and 9 islands, 9 different dialects, 9 different creoles, 9 different expressions of who we are. And within that, there is a hierarchy, not only within the island, but amongst the islands. I know something my dad talked about a great deal was the Windward Islands separating from the Leeward Islands. He felt that the islands should be split in half and have its own autonomy, its own government. And I think that's all fine and good if it's for the progression of the people. However, I don't think it's good when it's for separation, to basically be able to say, oh, my Creole is better than yours because I sound more European, because my accent isn't as profound, because we sound closer to Portuguese, and so on and so forth. Now, this isn't something people in my community walk around conscious of. However, when you do get to the small groups, for example, I'm from San Vicente. That's a very cosmopolitan island, and many musicians, poets, etc. are from that island. And however, my mom's from St. Nicholas, and she basically insists that all the intellectuals were born in San Nicolau and then went to San Vicente. And it's just a small iota of what we grew up with. So when people ask us as Cape Verdeans, what are we? We're so many things. We're an expression of the African culture. We're an expression of misogyny. We're an expression of a mixed culture. We're an expression of classism. We're an expression of Africans who were colonized by the Portuguese. We are an expression of light skin, medium skin, dark skin. Uh, Oftentimes I've been told, that many Cape Verdeans don't think that they are black. I am not one of those Cape Verdeans. I know exactly what I am. And one thing I always respond with is the fact that there's a difference between race and ethnicity. And I find it ironic that as black people, we can't claim ethnicity without sounding like we're saying we're not black. But yet, within the European expression, you can be European white and say you're French or Italian or, English or whatever the case may be. So I do have a lot of pride in being African and being Cape Verdean and being black. I embrace all of those expressions. I believe that those things do help us to form an identity and to be who we are in this society, and they're not to belittle in any way. However, I also believe in the spiritual realm. I believe in transcending those things. I believe in reaching for a higher version of your culture, of your community, of always wanting to grow, always wanting to develop, and always wanting to be the best version and expression of that culture, whatever that may be. In any event, I'm getting ready to take a bath. I'm getting ready to prep this bath. Yeah, it's going to be my way of signing off.